I have been working on a house up in North Carolina. It's my boyfriend's home that he is turning into a short-term rental, and I've been designing it and helping him get it ready, and it's beautiful. I love this home. If he said, let's move to North Carolina tomorrow, I would say absolutely, let's go. So I love this home. And I love working on projects, particularly by myself. This has been a thread through my entire life. I used to just get filled with such, I'm not even going to say anxiety. It was more like a quiet inner rage when a professor in college would say, this is a group project. Because as someone who really was kind of obsessed with her grades, group project meant I'm doing even more work. And I have to like manage other people. I was just not a fan of group projects. And as I've been working on this house, I've been reminded about that, where I love to build furniture. I love to put things together. I love to pick things out, but I'm not so great at doing it in collaboration. And this past weekend, we were working on a project together. We were mounting this big, heavy thing. And let's just say the directions, the one giving the directions and the one receiving the directions were not working well together. And my boyfriend said something to me that in the moment I wanted to kick and scream about, but instead I did what I typically do in those moments. I kind of shut down, withdrew, got quiet, emotionally distant. But he pointed out to me, and I would say, maybe not the best way, Ryan, if you're listening to this, but he pointed out to me that I don't take directions well. And this is true. And I know this is true about me. I don't like to admit it, but I do struggle when it comes to being told what to do. I don't like it. I don't enjoy being told what to do. I don't like to be micromanaged because to me, it felt like criticism. Now, I know it wasn't criticism now. Like as I look back on the situation, no, he was not criticizing me. He was trying to get a task done as efficiently as possible. But I received it as criticism and it caused a rupture. Like we got into a fight over this situation. And part of the reason why I'm even sharing this with you is I don't want you listening to my content, reading my stuff or whatever, ever to think for 1 second that I have this dreamy, perfect relationship. No, our relationship has ruptures, but it's not about the rupture. It's how you go about the repair that really matters in a relationship. Like everyone else, we get annoyed with each other. We get frustrated with each other. We get sick of each other and need space because we're human. And that's just how humans are in relationships. So, anyways, long story, let's try to shorten it down. We get in this argument over my, I'm not going to say inability, but lack of skill at receiving instruction and his tone when giving instruction. And it just caused a rupture. And I went back into one of my most deeply ingrained patterns, which is I will emotionally distance myself from this person. I can't physically leave. I'm not going to get in my car and run away, but the walls are up and I am shut down. Like, I'm not going to put out any bids for connection. I'm going to just go into my little, I'm a Cancer, is it in the zodiac? Go into my little shell and stay there and wall you out. It's kind of like I got icy. If you ever get icy with someone, it's just like you have your armor on and you're still interacting with them, but you're not warm, you're not kind, you're not affectionate, you're icy. Now, thankfully, things didn't stay this way. We were able to warm up to each other. I apologized for how I acted, and he did the same. And we repaired. We repaired the rupture that happened in the relationship. And what I was reminded of, reflecting back on this situation, is we always have growth. There is always growth to be done in our lives. And our romantic relationships, or really any relationship, but particularly your romantic relationship, is going to mirror back to you those parts of yourself that could use a little support. I don't want to say a little work, but you get it, a little support. And I was reflecting on the fact that, wow, I receive feedback as criticism. And because I receive feedback as criticism, I don't ask for other people's opinions very often. I don't ask for help very often. And I try to just do it all myself. And in doing it all myself, it's not always effective, right? Like I always say it, we're pack animals. We need other people. And it just highlighted an area of me that I'm like, ooh, there's still a part of me that feels the need to just do it all independently and do it all myself because I'm afraid of the criticism. And as I dug deeper into this, as I like to do, it wasn't necessarily the quote, the criticism at hand that I was afraid of. It's what I thought the criticism meant about me. It's how I internalized the criticism and how I started internalizing criticism at a young age is if I mess up, I am not lovable. So when I look back on the situation, the rupture didn't happen because of the situation at hand. It happened because of how I internalized what was going on. I felt that his instruction was intense. I am sensitive to tone. And I took that as he's mad at me. And so, because I believed in my head, made up the story that, he's mad at me because of the way he's trying to explain this to me, I'm going to try to just do it my own way to get it over with quicker because I don't understand what he wants. And in his point of view, it's you wouldn't take the instructions. You wouldn't listen to me. There was a process and you just, went away from the process, which then I received that as what? Criticism. And then I internalized that. And because my belief about criticism was this means you're not lovable, I got really upset. And that is a super deep pattern for me that I'm not going to share this story, but I can pinpoint an event that happened when I was a child that gave birth to this belief that someone being upset at me meant love was no longer present. Someone, like expressing anger towards me and criticizing something I did meant that I didn't deserve to be loved. Now, I have done some work around that in that situation, and maybe one day I'll share that story. But this was a reminder that, oh, Lily, you still got to work on this stuff. Like, it's still there. There's still that little part of me, that inner child, that little Lily, that when criticism happens, whether it's from my boyfriend or a stranger on the internet, there's a part of me that says, oh, I'm not lovable. This is why it's so important to look at your wounds and situations in your present day relationships through the lens of the child who got hurt, because it happened early on. It was those core wounds that happened when we were younger that are still sensitive, that when they get pushed in relationships now, it's not the thing that's happening in the moment most of the time. It's things that happened earlier on that still hurt us. So if you relate to any part of this, or you're like, wow, that was an aha moment for me, there are definitely things from my past that are affecting my relationships today, I'd love to support you. Shoot me an email, lily@growthovereasy.com, or find me on social media @lilyrachels and send me a DM. I'd love to support you. Another thing I want to talk about today was an article my dad sent me, which was about ChatGPT therapy and how a lot of people are turning to ChatGPT as their therapist, as their sense of support. Particularly, this article discussed men because they found it was a place where they could actually be vulnerable. I think AI can be a resource for this because if someone is in a dark place and chatting with an AI bot or with ChatGPT gets them out of that dark place, I'm all for it. But there's two things that I just want you to be aware of. One, ChatGPT likes to agree with you and likes to take your side. So you're not always getting a very balanced approach to the situation, particularly when it has to do with a relationship. Maybe you've done this before when you've called a friend who's like on your side, and you call them and you tell them something about your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and they're like, oh yeah, that person sucks. It's all, you go girl, or she doesn't know anything. And they are for you. And that's kind of how ChatGPT, which at least I have found, responds. They're like on your side. And so it's important to get a balanced approach. And you can even put that in your prompts. Just like be brutally honest with me. Look at both sides. Give me both perspectives. What am I missing here? And then the other thing is is that validating your feelings in the moment isn't always helpful, and here's why. When someone is in a survival response, when someone is in activation, maybe they're feeling a lot of frustration or anger or anxiety or whatever it is, a lot of times what they need is safety and they need grounding. They don't need to be told, yes, it makes sense that you feel that way. Now, that is true and that comes in, but when you're working with someone who's tracking your nervous system, they're able to see when you're going to blow your window of tolerance and when you need to come back down. And when they, again, need to bring safety into the equation. And they're able to see when it's too much. And AI can't do that. So, in order to renegotiate trauma, to work through your core wounds, to deal with a big situation or even a small situation, working with a practitioner who can not just listen to your words, but is noticing your behaviors as you're talking, is asking you about the sensation that you're experiencing in your body so that they can track your nervous system, that is what makes the difference. Because what can happen is if you're just chatting with an AI bot, you might completely blow your window of tolerance and end up in a worse place than you were before. So those are just two things I want you to keep in mind if you're using ChatGPT in this way. With all that being said, I hope that you spend some time this week connecting with people you love. I hope you are able to slow down and really enjoy the moment and be where your feet are. And if you can't do that, if you're like, no, my brain's going way too fast, I am thinking about so many things, I don't know how to connect with people, or I don't have people to connect to, please reach out to me. Because life doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be icy, you don't have to be walled off, and you don't have to be overthinking. Love and belonging and connection are available to you. You've just got to work on those patterns that are keeping you from it. And if that's something you'd like to do, again, email me, lily@growthovereasy.com, or find me on social media and send me a DM. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you choose growth.